Welcome back to College Football Addiction. Drake C. Toll locked on Big 12, talking a little bit of Colorado Buffaloes, but not necessarily the Buffaloes, but one of their stars heading to the NFL, Shedeur Sanders. A lot has come out, a lot has been made about the combine and performing this, that, and the other, and all of these things. There's a million hot takes, as there always are, right? When anything is involved with Coach Prime or one of his kids. But a lot has come out, too, about the positives, the pros. Drake, I just want to get your take as somebody who just intimately covered that program, him, over the last 2 years in Colorado. Everybody has a hot take. Oh, he might be following the draft, this, that, and the other. How do you project him at the next level in the NFL?
Well, I think that it is a disservice to a spectacular athlete, a very good human being, someone who carries moxie, someone who has swagger, someone who has a whole lot to bring to not just college football, but now the NFL. It's a disservice to that player to speak the way a lot of these national outlets and national reporters are speaking. This is a kid. Deion Sanders was the same way, who carries himself with pride, who carries himself knowing his worth. And Shedeur Sanders was a highlight for the Big 12 this season. Should be a top 3 draft pick in the NFL draft this year. And to me, when I'm watching interviews of Cam Ward or other quarterbacks in this draft, I don't see them being any less confident than what Shedeur Sanders is. I don't see Quinn Ewers shying away from controversy. What I believe this is a product of Deion Sanders, who he was as an athlete, who he is as a coach, just being confident. I've misread at times, and now media members are taking. Here are the headlines today. Bleacher Report: NFL quarterback coach says Shedeur Sanders was brash and arrogant. 24/7. Shedeur Sanders turned off 2 NFL teams following 2025 Combine. New York Post: new rumors of Shedeur Sanders' unprofessional NFL Combine behavior. Newsbreak: NFL analysts fire shots at Shedeur Sanders over cocky attitude. I'm sorry. If the kid is good, knows he's good, and is ready to walk into an NFL organization and turn that thing inside out, improve wall to wall what anyone at the top of football, what the New York Giants do in football. That is what you will get in Shedeur Sanders. All of the unnecessary hate is just that, unnecessary for a kid that could have won the Heisman Trophy in 2024 playing for Colorado. And now you're just seeing a product of what college football reporters gave you on the national scale in the midseason this past year, but amplify it with the NFL. What do I think he can bring to an organization? Again, a game-changing level of play. How do I value him as a human being, as someone who has character? Very highly, the same as his father. They're businessmen. Both of them are businessmen, but both deserve their flowers in this scenario where Deion's son will be drafted very high, and Shedeur Sanders himself, who should be drafted very high, can prove to all of these naysayers that he is one of the best quarterbacks, not just in this draft, but of the last few classes.
Yeah, Chris Carter was recently on a show, and for a more detailed look at this, people can go check out the Prime Time for College Football, because Jay did a great job over there with that. But just talked about how you mentioned the character, right? Like not even necessarily the football stuff, but just how he was. I'm saying this guy said this, said this, said this. So we're playing the game of telephone some. But here's what we do in March, I guess now. How he the way he interacts with people when the cameras are off, right? We see well off, and we see all the media circus, as people like to call it, around Colorado and Shedeur and Travis and all these guys, Shiloh. But when the cameras are off, the character that he has, and to me, obviously, NFL franchises want players to play at an elite level and mostly care about that more than anything else. But they do care about character, and they do care about leadership, and they do care about how someone carries themselves. I remember I lived in Tampa, and I remember how they said Jameis used to come in to put everything back to Florida State and like shake the hands of the janitors and shake the hands of the security guards. And that stuff does matter to NFL franchises. Now, winning games matters the most. I'm not going to make this oh man, they're just going to draft a guy because he's nice. But these ideas that he is somehow unprofessional or somehow carries himself the wrong way, that just gets disproven at every single turn that you make. And you mentioned it. Yeah, there's a confidence there. There's a cockiness. You want that. You want that swagger. You're telling me you wouldn't want 11 Deion Sanders just running around out there, a guy who is confident but then backs it up. But man, the stories that come out and you hear about the person that he is, and again, gets that directly from his father, right? We can give Deion a lot of credit for that. They're pretty remarkable to hear.
I'm positive, very confident, if not positive, that the reporters, the analysts, the NFL coaches who have these negative assessments of Shedeur Sanders have some sort of skin in the game that has a bias against the Sanders name. And part of this is in that Bleacher Report article that, if you go into, is quoted as saying that other people around the league have pointed to this quarterback coach who said that Shedeur was arrogant and saying, yes, he's in the top 7 of teams that will draft, and maybe he assesses Sanders as brash or arrogant, but a lot of the media have a direct opposite response to that based on how he was during the combine. And there's a quote here that says they seem, this quarterback coach who said all this stuff, they seem to have issues with the culture of athletes who have broad fame and financial success before entering the NFL. So this is less of Shedeur Sanders actually being at fault for something and more pride, jealousy, negative pride on the side of coaches or reporters who just don't want to see the Sanders name win, who don't want to see Deion Sanders win, who do not want to see the development of athletes in our new game. Most of the college football players that we see today who are drafted in the top 10 are famous in some way, whether it be on TikTok or Instagram or via NIL ads that they're doing for Allstate. That is the era today. If you're an NFL coach and you can't get over that, you shouldn't be an NFL coach. And so I want it to be clear, like you said, I want to echo that. The character of Shedeur Sanders should not be tied to the oftentimes misquoted or misseen moxie that he carries himself with. He's a confident kid. He knows his worth, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think it's something that you should keep outside of your halls if you're an NFL program.
Love, talking about, who he is, what kind of a person he is and stuff, like flipping over to the other side. I absolutely love his confidence. I'm sure you have seen the clips of him saying, look, they doubted me at Jackson State, and then they doubted me when we got to the Pac-12 and then the Big 12. They doubted me at Colorado, and we have turned programs around, and I will do that for an NFL franchise too. I don't know how you're an NFL GM and don't say, yeah, bro, come do it for me. Like, if you're drafting in the top 5, especially in the top 3, unless you traded a pick or something crazy has happened, the idea of a program changer, a franchise changer is maybe a better way to put it, coming in outside of everything else we've mentioned on his character and the way he carries himself, that has to just thrill an NFL GM. And it's going to thrill somebody in the top 5 that gets an absolute stud.
I think so. If you're the quarterback coach, if you're the GM who says that Shedeur Sanders is too brash or too cocky to play for your organization, great. Somebody else is going to draft him. Someone else is going to draft him in the top 5. If you don't want that, someone else is going to benefit from that. And TJ, to be honest with you, I believe wholeheartedly that those who are doubting Shedeur Sanders in a similar way to how Deion Sanders has been doubted both in his playing career and in his coaching career, those who doubt that last name are very wrong and will continue to be proven wrong.
Wouldn't want to be is the NFL GM, the NFL franchise, the NFL coach that does pass on him for that reason and then see him on the upcoming schedule. That would, you think about what Saquon did every time he played in the Meadowlands, or every time that, the Giants and Eagles faced off, or just really anyone, right? They remember that, Michael always had it in for the 2 teams that drafted, not that Michael didn't give it to everybody, but Michael always had it in for the 2 teams that drafted guys ahead of him, right? And so is that not the best reason to draft him, is just so that you don't have to see him on your schedule?
At this point, yes. And if you're an idiot and that's the only reason you draft him, you're somehow going to benefit from what could be a generational player.
Yeah, without a doubt. Drake, where can people follow you? Where can they get more of your content?
Yeah, at Big 12 or at Drake C. Toll on Twitter and wherever you find your podcast with Locked On Big 12.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Always.